I don't know who said it, but a quote that I love and kind of the inspiration for starting NG英文. When you speak to someone in their first language, you speak to their heart. But when you speak to them in their second or third or fourth language, you're speaking to their brain. Yeah, it's very cultural. I like that. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show today. My name is John Drummond, or Yang Haoen.
Hello, 大家好，欢迎各位再度来到 NG 英文，我是 Angela。We
have a great episode for you today with my cousin from New Zealand, and he is actually going to be the host interviewing me. So the guest today will be John Drummond, who is known around the Taiwanese community as Yang Haoen.
没错，因为我们其实一直都有收到要访问 John 的要求，所以今天在节目的2周年纪念呢，他就借着在防疫隔离期间做他一人分饰2角的浩恩特辑，来一场他的生活大解密，让各位听众朋友来更认识主持人。
That's right. So, like I said, this is a fun little tease of an episode. So I'm going to be my cousin Mason, who is from New Zealand, and I'm going to interview myself. So a little bit about me. I am American. I have been living around the world for over 10 years now, and in Taiwan for a little over 5 years. I work in tech as an entertainer. I work in the music industry. I organize events. I love people, traveling, language, and so much more. So yeah, let's get right into it. So everyone, please welcome my cousin and host of NG英文, John. What's up, Mason? Yeah, how's it, Johnny boy? It's good to see you. Thank you for doing this, my man. This is quite a fun little experience as, yeah, you are getting to be the host of NG英文 today and interviewing me. So, yeah, take it away. All right, Johnny. Yeah, bruv. Well, man, it's so fun. This is a cool little idea that you had. I just got here, as you mentioned earlier, from New Zealand. Yeah, I live in the south of New Zealand on the North Island, in a place called Wellington. Fun fact is a lot of people don't know that that's actually the capital of New Zealand. A lot of people think Auckland is the capital, but yeah, the southern part of the North Island, Wellington, is home. So, John, why don't you start it off? Can you give a little self-introduction about yourself? I decided to start traveling the world and have lived mostly in Asia, India, Thailand, Vietnam, traveling all over throughout that time. But I came to Taiwan for a surfing trip. The plan was to live here for 3 months on a tourist visa and then move to Japan and figure it out from there. I kind of was just bouncing around different places and, you know, surfing, snowboarding, backpacking all over, and usually teaching English or teaching science along the way, as my degree was in elementary education. So came to Taiwan, was surfing, and decided to stay because I adopted 2 puppies. And the story of that is quite a long story, a little sad, but a beautiful story for changing the course of my life, as there was a typhoon and it killed, unfortunately, some siblings of these 2 puppies, and I decided to adopt my 2 dogs that I currently have, Jax and Nala, and start a life here. And so that's kind of been my journey for the past 5 years in Taiwan, raising them. They also are raising me, as it's taught me so much about responsibility and growth, because I was just a free bird, just traveling wherever I wanted to travel to. I had no real responsibilities. And so, yeah, just been kind of learning how to be a better man through my 2 dogs. The doggos. Oh, Jax and Nala. So many great photos of them, yeah. Wow. Yeah, no, I love how you talk about responsibility, because I think about you when you were a lot younger. You were quite a selfish guy. Just a lot of free roam in the world, free bird, as you said, yeah. And yeah, you know, you would cruise around, do whatever you wanted, and come and go as you pleased. So yeah, it's that responsibility being land is something very, very interesting. So take us through a little bit then, John, about your work experience. Yeah, you've been doing all kinds of different things. I think you do music work, you do entertainment, you work for an education technology company. Just take us through everything. What do you do? Very true. I do many things. A lot of people, especially my family, they have no idea what I do. They're like, oh, yeah, he works kind of in tech, but he does entertainment, music. And that's really kind of a design that I've been trying to set up through my life. Unintentionally, to be honest. But I knew I had many different interests, and I wanted to try to kind of tie them all together. So one job can feed into another. And I've found kind of a nice little balance here in Taiwan. So my main job is with an education technology company called希平方, which is kind of the mother company of this show, NG英文. And my CEO and founder, Charlie, is kind of my brother from another mother. And yeah, he just believed in me and knew that if I kept doing entertainment, so acting, voice acting, and modeling and stuff like this, it might open up different doors for our company. So he allowed me to do this, and I also did and still do music work, tour management. So I bring mostly DJs around the world to travel with them for shows and set up gigs for them. And yeah, I work with 2 partners for TEDx Nehu. And so we've had 2 events now, usually in December for TEDx Nehu. Those are kind of the main things that I do right now. And obviously with COVID, music work and entertainment has slowed down a lot. So I've been focusing more on, how we can grow our ed tech company as everything's online with that. And jumping more into personal projects too, which are tech heavy, but yeah, focusing more on blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Sure. All right, Johnny. Yeah. Now that's quite interesting. Yeah, you're a busy man, eh? Taiwan has been good to you. Yeah, you've grown a lot. I can see you're quite a different man now. So a question I think you like to ask on this show is, what does the future look like for John? Yeah, the future for myself is bright. I've always been one to kind of embrace change and welcome new challenges. And so life could kind of take me all over the place. I have been finding myself much more interested, as I just mentioned, in blockchain and crypto, and just kind of understanding what the future might hold for that. I kind of like to think of it as kind of what the internet was to the early 90s and 2000s, really, and just seeing that there's so many possibilities with it and how it can really bring a lot of new industry and new work into the world. I love what I'm doing right now, so continuing to build all those aspects up and just continue to have more of a global impact. I think if I really am true to myself, what drives me the most is getting to share other people's stories and working with other people and helping them find what really works for them. I'm kind of an introverted extrovert, so I love my alone time, but I get a lot of energy from other people. And seeing them reach their full potential gives me a lot of joy. So as I develop myself in my career, I want to make sure that I am still honing in on, what it means to have global impact through investments, through working with companies and growing kind of my network. Oh yeah, man. We love a good investment. Working on the future. Sweet as.
听完访谈的上半段啊，不知道大家对这位神秘嘉宾 John 他纽西兰表哥的口音听得还 OK 吗？他有点像是英国跟美国腔的综合版，但是又带有一种南半球英语系国家他们特有的那种语调，跟澳洲还有南非的语调非常类似，而且他们有一些很特别的俚语哦。等一下访谈最后来跟各位分享一些比较有趣特别的。好，那是说大家跟纽西兰熟吗？除了羊比人多以外，其实它也有很多自然美景都很值得去走走。只是就像刚才表哥 Mason 说的，要记得它的首都是在北岛的南部，叫做 Wellington 威灵顿，好，不是 Auckland 奥克兰哦，大家不要误会。很多人可能都因为奥克兰它比较大，人口比较多，所以都以为它是首都。 好，那刚才 John 他不是有讲到说一开始他其实一直都在到处旅游嘛，一下住在印度、越南，一下又跑去泰国。好，本来来台湾只是想说要用旅游签待3个月，等冲浪冲够了就再接着去日本想往后的计划，就没想到在那3个月期间呢，因为收养了2只浪浪，就一直待到现在，已经5年多了。讲到这边他用了 free bird 跟片语bounce around， 不知道各位有没有抓到它的意思。 Free bird 应该很容易可以推敲，就是像一只自由自在的小鸟那样子到处飞到处溜达嘛，对不对？那 bounce 它有弹跳的意思，所以在这边他说那时候常常都是在 bounce around， 在到处弹跳，其实就是在表达那时候的自由之身。好，可以一下住那个国家，一下又搬到下一个国家，那种无拘无束的漂泊生活。或者有时候其实也可以像他这位特别的表哥一样用这说法 cruise around， 同样也可以表达这个意思。另外 John 他不是也讲到说，因为领养2只狗狗的关系，对他的人生价值观有很大的影响吗？在养他们，在陪他们长大的同时， John 其实自己也在跟着长大，学会了责任跟担当的重要。好，讲到这部分的时候，他说因为领养的关系 it changed the course of his life。 好，就是说改变了他当时整个人生的发展过程。 course 在这边有进展过程的意思，所以 the course of his life 就是指他的人生发展。一般这用法 the course of 什么什么常常会搭配介系词 in 一起用，变成 in the course of 什么什么什么，它就变成是在什么期间，在什么什么过程的意思，跟 during 很类似。例如像你说 in the course of the interview， 就是说在面试过程中。好，那 in the course of his life 就是在他人生过程中。这种用法呢，不管是在写作还是一般的口说都非常的实用，大家赶快多练习几次，把它学起来。再来他们提到的是 John 工作跟他未来希望能多朝这个加密货币投资发展的部分。好，他的工作内容呢真的非常多彩多姿，如果你认识 John 的话，你应该知道我在讲什么。除了在希平方做全职以外，也兼职当经纪人，当那个 DJ 经纪人，而且也是1年1度内湖 TEDx 演讲活动的其中一位负责人。大家如果有兴趣的话，赶快去跟他 A 票，不然1张票超贵的。好，开玩笑。讲到这段呢，他用了一个很有趣很道地的俚语来形容跟我们希平方创办人 Charlie 的关系。大家我们来学一下 Brother from another mother。 好，这俚语呢字面上是另外一个妈妈给他生的兄弟，但其实就是在表达感情像亲兄弟一样的好朋友。想当初我第一次听到这个俚语的时候啊，其实是在看电影《尖峰时刻3》跟里面的主角 Chris Tucker 学来的，到现在已经10几年了，还是很记忆犹新。有没有大家真的可以借由最近疫情待在家里的时间啊，趁机多看影集，多学一点英文。好啦，那这段内容就先在这边告一段落，我们赶快继续来听下半段的分享。
Well, mate, if we can then switch gears a little bit, as I think you like to say on the show, do you want to go into kind of the story of John coming to Taiwan and what kept you here?
Yeah, so, as I mentioned, Taiwan was a travel destination at the time. I came here to surf, and a lot of people are very confused by that. They're like, my Taiwanese friends are like, Taiwan has surf? Of course, a lot of them do know it has surf, but it doesn't seem to be a surfing destination, such as like Bali, in Indonesia, or Hawaii might have. But I was living in Asia already for about 4 or 5 years at that time, and I had done a lot of kind of the typical surf traveling. And I ran into a guy on a motorcycle trip in Vietnam, and he kind of mentioned that Taiwan had some fun surf on the East Coast, and there was just a really beautiful vibe to the Taiwanese culture. He said it was very safe, just really welcoming and fun. So I decided to come and check it out and take a surf trip. And I found myself arriving and staying in Ilan, and was there and just kind of helping out a surf hostel. Shout out to my boy Garrett.
at Rising Sun Surf. It's now called California Surf, I believe. But he was the first one that I met. I met him online at the time when I was in Vietnam. And just was like, hey, can I come stay with you? You know, blah, 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 blah. And he was just like, yeah, dude, just, book a room. It was a hotel hostel, but I had other plans. My plan was when I arrived, I was going to ask him if I could teach surf lessons in exchange for a bed. So I wouldn't have to pay to stay. And yeah, that kind of worked out. For a while, I was kind of teaching surf lessons on the beach, and they were allowing me to sleep in a bed and giving me a few meals per day. So, it was a good way for me to kind of do like a work exchange. And that was always kind of my style. Just, find myself in some random country and, how can I either save money or make a few bucks and then go to a new place. But I decided to stay when I found my dogs and adopted them. And then I was like, okay, now I have 2 dogs that I just decide to adopt. Well, John, now you can't travel. Now you need to become more responsible. And what does that mean? Well, I need to get now, an ARC. I needed a visa to stay in the country. I needed a real job. And yeah, that's when, I kind of fell back on my English teaching experience and all my teaching experience that I had back in the States and all around Asia. And so I found a job in Elan City, was a cram school teacher for about a year until I decided to move to Taipei. And the reason I moved to Taipei was because at the time, I never wanted to live in a big city. I was always just, I'm a beach boy at heart. And I met 2 guys, Fabio and Torden, who have both been on the show, my dear, dear friends. And they lived in Taipei, but, they always took trips to nature. And they were like, Taipei's got a great vibe. It can be city if you want it to, but it also, you can get to nature. And there's a good group of people there doing a lot of fun things. And so I went up there and kind of joined in this beautiful little community that was building these fun, events, kind of Burning Man style events. They were doing these kind of, pop-up parties, music parties. And so I got involved with that and then started working, just different little events around Taipei and the music scene, at Omni nightclub, and just, started to kind of fall in love with the music scene. And so, the whole journey kind of took off from there. But, I needed to be legal. So I still needed to be working in Taipei under a proper visa because all of that work was just, it was more for experience and just a network effect at that time. And that's when I was doing some voiceover work for my current company, but they were building some apps and they needed just a standard English, like American English accent for their app. And so I started working with their team and ended up meeting the founder. And I was just like, do you have any way that I could work for you, full time? I'll do anything. He's like, do you have business experience? And I was like, no. But I was like, I've been a teacher for years. I'm great with people. Can you take a chance on me, And, obviously we had known each other for a few months already at that point. So it wasn't so like, who's this random kid? It was more like, okay, I see you have some capabilities. Yeah. And he took a chance. And so I started kind of helping them do content and all their media direction. So I was, writing scripts and I was filming and acting in their content because the content the company would use at the time was all on YouTube. And we wanted to create more of our own content in-house. And so I got to be kind of in charge of that and do the editing and everything. And it kind of took off from there. And so, yeah, that was about, 3.5 years ago now. I've been full-time with that company and it's just been a beautiful journey ever since. Oh, that's beautiful, John. Awesome, mate. Well, can you share a little bit then about your language journey? I know you've lived in India, you've lived in Thailand, you've lived all over the place, and kind of where does language play into this? Language for me really started, I'd say, with Spanish as, the first experiences I had with a foreign language were going into Mexico when I was growing up, which is right below San Diego, where I grew up in California, and going surfing. And, we would just go across the border and surf and get tacos and have just a great time. And so Spanish was kind of the first language that I was exposed to. At the time, though, I didn't understand the impact of learning another language. I knew it was fun and it was easier to communicate if I could speak some Spanish, but I didn't have the vision to see, what would a second or third language really allow me to do. And that didn't start then until I went to Thailand and I started speaking more Thai as I lived out there. And I just was realizing just the experiences you have with the local community. Of course, living in another country, you can always find people who speak English or your own language, but the experiences you have when you start to engage with locals in the local language are incredible. And it just opened up so many, incredibly wild and fun and beautiful experiences. And that was kind of the mindset I had when I came to Taiwan. I was living in Yilan, and other than the small amount of foreigners that live in Yilan, who were surfing or just teaching out there, not a lot of the locals were speaking English. So, you're forced more to kind of adapt and speak Chinese. And yeah, I just, I dove in and just taught myself. I never took classes. I'm not fluent by any means, but I'm conversational. And it was all because I just, started reading textbooks that my friends would give me from local universities and just focusing on, repetition and getting like base vocabulary and building from there. I had a foundation of, 100 words that I knew were solid and how I could grow it out from there. I used to think about kind of like planets is, the core is my base vocabulary, just the foundation of the language, a lot of pronouns, just simple verbs and stuff like that. And then you build out stuff you don't use as much, but it's more important to things I like to do. For example, surfing, the music industry, traveling. So this was all ways I could better express myself. I don't know who said it, but a quote that I love and kind of the inspiration for starting NG英文 was when you speak to someone in their first language, you speak to their heart. But when you speak to them in their second or third or fourth language, you're speaking to their brain. And that really resonated with me as I want to speak to somebody's heart. And, I want to connect with them on a personal level. And so speaking the mother language was, to someone else is the way to do that. Ah, you cheeky bugger. Yeah, you do love a good quote, hey? Beautiful. I should say speaking to someone in their first language is speaking to their heart, and then speaking to someone in their second language, a third, a fifth, sixth, is speaking to their brain. Yeah, it's very cultural. I like that. Yeah. Well, John, it's been a pleasure to let me host your show, but the question that you asked me to end with, because you're leading the show here as I just talk, is still been... could you go back and talk to a younger John and share some advice with him about life, language, work, travel, anything? Yeah, it's the question I love to ask people and go deep with them about if they want to. But I think it all starts with myself, and the advice that I would give to my younger self would be to let go, to kind of trust the process and trust that all the things that I have gathered, all the life experience has given me a lot of experience to handle whatever life throws at me. When I was younger, even though I was very free and just kind of did what I wanted, I was still very controlling, not in a toxic way, but just, I wanted to be in control of things. I wanted to be capable. I wanted to seem like I had it under control. And as I've gotten older, I've learned a lot of kind of tough lessons, and it just showed me that to let go and trust the process and enjoy the ride. The more I find myself enjoying the ride of life, enjoying the people I'm meeting, enjoying all the experiences, the more happy I am and the more I am able to share that positive energy. So to my younger self, let go, trust the process. You're more capable than you know. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, the letting go aspect. I know you did love to control things, hey? You were a control freak when you were young. And yeah, all right. Well, where can people find you on all the social sites, all the social media, as the kids call it? Are you on TikTok? No. So you can find me on Instagram or Facebook, John Drummond 89, or just search Yang Hao En 太阳的阳，昊天, and and you should find me. All right, Jono. Well, next time you'll have to interview me, your cousin Mason. But it's been awesome to get to talk to you and catch up and share some of your story. And thank you for letting me host the show here on NG英文. Yeah, Mason. Well, thank you for leading the show today, man. It was very, very fun. And hopefully, people get a kick out of this. Are we twins? Are we brothers? Are we cousins? Is it the same person? Nobody knows. Sweet as. Yeah, sure. Peace.
第二段这边一开始我们就马上切入主题，这样不浪费时间，直接分享了当初来台湾的故事。那就像刚才说的，他那时候来纯粹是为了冲浪。没错，我们台湾也是有好浪可以冲的好吗？虽然可能不像巴厘岛或是夏威夷澳洲那些冲浪圣地有名，但是的确我们的 surf 我们的浪也是很美拜的齁。好，当初来的时候是为了追浪，结果呢因为2只可爱的狗狗而留了下来。不过话说回来，当初他决定要来台湾的故事也是蛮有趣的。大家记不记得刚刚John说，那时候因缘际会下，在越南的一场重机之旅中认识了一位朋友，跟他推荐我们台湾东海岸的浪，所以呢John就想说好啊，不然就去看看。讲到这边的时候，他用了这个字 vibe V-I-B-E， 它有气氛氛围的意思。像他讲说东部地区有一种 beautiful vibe， 就是指那边的环境氛围很美。好，那除了氛围以外呢，我们常讲的正能量也跟这个字有关，可以说 good vibes 或是 positive vibes。好，相反的，一个人低气压笼罩散发出来的负能量就会是 bad vibes， 或者是也可以说 negative vibes。好，特别的是呢，这个字 vibe 在口语中还有一种当动词的用法，通常呢会以现在进行式 vibing 的形式出现，带有一种我们常讲的耍废啦，或是放松、陶醉、沉浸在某事之中的意涵在。像如果朋友打电话来问你说你在干嘛，你就是防疫啊，整天没出门，可能刚好又正在听你的音乐，准备拿梳子当麦克风开唱的话，就可以说没干嘛 I'm just vibing， 是一个非常非常口语的用法。那其实除了刚刚讲的这些以外，它还有很多其他的意思，只是因为时间关系，我只能挑几个来跟大家做分享。好，那年纪轻轻刚来到台湾的 John 原本是在宜兰的一间冲浪店教冲浪打工换宿，过着一个惬意的浪人生活。直到某天呢，因为台风的来袭，让他巧遇收养了2只狗狗，才让他决定要留在台湾办签证，认真找工作，扛起照顾2只狗狗的责任。那也是因为这样子，才跟我们希平方大佬 Charlie 牵起了合作机会，我也才有机会跟他做这个节目，来跟各位分享学英文的大小事。另外他有提到一点我觉得很赞的是，学不同语言给我们带来的影响。好，因为当我们住在异乡的时候，肯定是要跟当地人沟通嘛，那努力学对方的语言，除了是一种尊重以外，也会让我们更容易融入当地的生活。那节目最后呢，这样也想劝劝以前的自己，凡事呢学着放宽心，看开一点就可以了，只要有信心 just trust the process， 相信事情发展的过程都有它的道理在就够了。好，那刚才一开始跟大家说在最后要来分享的纽澳俚语，现在来听一下。最常见的这个 sweet as 非常非常好用，不过你是要说不错没拜哦，或是超赞的，送啦，甚至是谢谢跟不客气等等，都可以用它来表达，是不是超好用？像刚才John做来分享，他的这位神秘表哥 Mason 就接了一个 sweet as 来表达不错不错。好，那甚至有时候如果你跟人家说谢谢，对方有可能不会就直接回你 you're welcome， 反而是说 sweet as， 这一样也是在表达蛮客气，不用客气啦。好啦，那希望大家都有从这一次的内容学到一些东西。有兴趣的话呢，赶快上网去查一些其他更多的纽澳俚语，或者是去John的社群看看他可爱的狗狗吧。
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Bye, everyone. Peace.